Assalamualaikum and good morning. Today I'm going to present a topic regarding the anatomical positions, nomenclature, and organization of the human body. Okay, so this is the introduction part of the regarding the anatomy. So you have to know what is the anatomy. Okay, basically anatomy is the science of the structure of the human body and the relationships of its parts. So we're going to learn and study of the human body and also its structure. And traditionally, how we learn the anatomy, we learn by using a cadaver or human body, a real human body, cadaver material, based on the dissection. In your case, you will use a model, a prosected part, and chart from the anatomy museum. Okay, so there are several study of anatomy that you have to know. The first one is the gross anatomy. So the gross anatomy it refers to the study of the macroscopic structure of human body by using a systemic or topographic approach. And we have that one is for the gross anatomy. Okay, for the systemic anatomy, it is a gross study of organ system separately. Okay, for example, we have heart, right? We have the blood and blood vessel, and this component is studied under one unit, the cardiovascular system. Okay, okay. We have the respiratory system. We have a different system in our body, so this is more on the systemic anatomy. Okay, we study based on the system of the human body, and then we have the third one is a topographic or regional anatomy. Topographic or regional anatomy is study of region of the body and the relation between the structure of all systems in a particular area. Example, we had head and neck, that is one region, it's considered one region, and upper limb, okay, one region, and lower limb. Okay. So topographic on the or regional anatomy, based on the region. Okay. Now we're going to move to the next section of the presentation. Okay, so just now I mentioned three initial study of anatomy. Now we're going to proceed to the next one, the applied anatomy. Okay, what is applied anatomy? Anatomy considered very special referred to its medical and surgical applications. So here is more application of the anatomy from the name itself and all that. We try to apply our knowledge. Okay, with the purpose of medical and surgical applications. Okay, that is the applied anatomy. Okay. That is applied anatomy. Okay, anatomy considered with a special reference to its medical and surgical applications. Okay, now we're going to proceed with the next one. The next one is a cross-sectional anatomy. Okay, what is cross-sectional anatomy? Anatomy study based by means of cross-section. So we try to cut the body into a several section. So we learn the anatomical part of the body based on that section. Okay, that is the cross-sectional anatomy. And then we have the surface anatomy. How we learn this anatomy? Anatomy learned by inspection and palpation. Okay, we inspect, we see, and we palpate, we touch on the surface part of, and relating to the deeper part of the to the skin surface. Mean that they try to palpate and try to see the surface part, and then we try to relate what are the deeper part that located deep to the skin, what are the deeper structure that located deep to the skin. Okay, that is the surface anatomy. So just now we have the gross anatomy, systemic anatomy, topographic or regional anatomy. We have the applied anatomy, we have the cross-sectional anatomy, and the surface anatomy. So we have 6 different study of anatomy that you have to know. And then now we're going to move to the next one, which is the radiographic anatomy. So what is the radiographic anatomy? The study of anatomy by using the X-ray. Okay, that is the radiographic anatomy. Now, we are in this case, we are using the X-ray films, and we try to learn the anatomy structure by inspecting or by observing the X-ray films. Okay, and then we have the cross-sectional or new imaging technique. Okay, in this case, we are using the new imaging technique, CT scan, and also the MRI images. Okay, and then we try to construct it into a 3D image. Okay, that is the way we learn that anatomy. Okay, and then the last one is artificial or plastic anatomy. Okay, this kind of anatomy study is involved the study of anatomical structure by using a model or other artificial means. Okay, here you are using a plastic model. For example, here you can see here this is the plastic model that we use to learn the anatomy. Okay, this is the picture just to show you how the different imaging technique, the modern different imaging technique that we use to learn the anatomy. Okay, for example, here we have the color enhanced CT scan of the abdomen, so we can see the different structure that present in the abdomen. Okay, and it is colored. Okay, okay, that one is regarding the different study of anatomy. Now we're going to proceed with the various sub-discipline of anatomy. Okay, so we start to uh, focus on this first, this one first, the histology. So this is the sub-discipline of anatomy. Okay, the histology. So what is the histology? It is a microscopic study of the tissue. We try to learn the tissue. Okay, we try to learn the tissue, and then the next one is embryology. It's a study of prenatal development. Okay, we try to learn on how the human is being developed. Okay, and then that one is more on focus on the prenatal one. Okay, prenatal development. And then the developmental anatomy, okay, the study of human growth, okay, and the development of from the fertilized egg to mature adult. Here we want to see how the human growth, okay, and develop from the egg, okay, fertilized egg to the mature adults. Okay, so it's not only focused on the prenatal, but here is until the adult to mature adult. The developmental anatomy. So there is a difference between the developmental anatomy and also embryology. Here, embryology more on focus on the during the prenatal development. Okay. Okay, now we're going to proceed with the next slide. Okay, what are the components of human body? The human body is composed of the skin, fat, muscle. Okay, muscle here is mainly skeletal muscle, and then we have the bone and other connective tissue, and then we have the nervous tissue like brain and also the spinal cord, and then we have the organ like heart, liver, and the blood vessels. So these are the components of the human body that you have to know. But this one will be discussed further when you go to the next block. Okay, no need to worry on this part. So you can see here, this is a picture just to show you the component of the human body. So you can see here, this is the skeletal, the muscle of the body. Okay, this is the skeleton. Okay, the skeletal. Okay, the bone, and this is the cardiovascular system. Okay, you can see here the blood vessel, and then this is nervous system. Okay, now we're going to discuss on the region of the body. Okay, the body is divided into 6 anatomical regions or major parts. Okay, we have the head here. Okay, if you see here, this is the head, and then we have the neck, and then we have the thorax. The thorax is this is the component of the thorax. We have the the thorax itself. Okay, the thorax, and then we have the sorry. Uh, Thorax is specific. Sorry, thorax is the specific, but uh, the trunk. Okay, the trunk. Okay, the trunk here, the trunk. The thorax is individual region. But if you want to put it as whole, like a trunk, okay, trunk. This is the trunk. Trunk is constituted of comprises of pelvis, okay, abdomen, and also the thorax. So this is the definition of the trunk. It's constituted of or comprises of the 3 components: the thorax, abdomen, and also the pelvis. But the thorax itself is a individual regions that we have in the body. Okay, and then we have the abdomen and also the pelvis. It's the individual region. Okay, whenever you combine all together here is considered one as a trunk. Okay, trunk. And then we have the upper limb, we have the lower limb. Okay, now we're going to discuss on the upper limb and lower limb. Okay, for the arm. Arm is upper limb segment between the shoulder and also the elbow. Okay, arm is a upper limb segment between the shoulder and the elbow. So this is the part of the arm. And then for the arm is segment between the elbow to the wrist. That is the forearm. And then for the leg, it's a segment between the knee and between the knee here, okay, and the ankle. That is the leg. And then thigh is a segment between the hip, between the hips and the knee. Okay, you have to know all the boundary lah. Okay, and also the what are the component of the upper limb and also the lower limb. Okay, this picture just to show you the 9 region of abdomen. No need to worry on this 9 region because you're going to learn against during the GIT block later. But we have the 9 region here. If you see here, this is the right hypochondriac region, epigastric regions. We have the left hypochondriac regions. And then in the center here is umbilical region. And then we have the right lumbar regions. We have the left lumbar regions, right iliac region, hypogastric region, and left iliac region. Okay, for the sectional anatomy, there are 3 sectional plane that you have to know. There are transverse or cross sections. Okay, there are frontal or coronal sections, and then we have the sagittal sections. For the sagittal section is further divided into a mid sagittal or parasagittal. Okay. Okay, for the plane of the body, okay, sagittal plane. Okay, whenever you cut the body into a different section just now, so we make it into a different plane. Okay, I mean, there is the plan is actually how we cut the body lah. Okay. Okay. So if you see here, this is the sagittal plane. Okay, sagittal plane. So the sagittal plane is a vertical plane. So it's a vertical plane lah. Vertical mean from up to down lah. Okay. A vertical plane that running from front to the back. Okay, from front to the back, from front to the back. And the sagittal plane, it divide body into left and right side. Okay, this is the most important thing that you have to know. This sagittal plane, it cut the body into right and left half. Okay, so it run with from front to the back. Okay, and then median plane. Okay, for the median plane is a specific what you call that specific characteristic of the sagittal plane. Median plane is a mid sagittal plane. Okay, mid sagittal plane that dividing body into equal amount of left and right half. Okay, mid sagittal plane is dividing body into left and right half equally. Okay, median plane. Okay, and then for the coronal plane, okay, this coronal plane also known as a frontal plane. So this is the other name of a coronal plane. So how we cut the body for the coronal plane? Okay, for the coronal plane is a vertical plane that running from side to side, from the other side to the other side. Okay, from left to the right. Okay, running from side to side at the right angle to the sagittal plane. So at the right angle to the sagittal plane. So it divide the body into front and the back part. Okay, so it divide the body into front and the back part. So it move from side the body this vertical plane from side to side. So divide the body into front part and also the back part. That is the coronal plane. Okay, so the blue color one here is a belong to the coronal plane, and the sagittal one is a this one. Okay, and then the horizontal. Okay, the horizontal is also known as a transverse plane. So the horizontal plane, it divide body into top part and the bottom part. Okay. Okay. Now we know. Now we're going to move to the next part, the anatomical positions. The anatomical position is very important term that you have to know. Okay. What is the anatomical position? Okay. The basis for all anatomical terminology is in the anatomical position. You have to remember that one. The basis for all anatomical terminology is in the anatomical position. So whenever you discuss the uh, anatomical terminology, so it is in the form of the you put the body in the anatomical positions. Okay, what is the anatomical positions? Anatomical position is the when the body is standing erect and facing forward. That is the anatomical position. Okay, okay, we standing. Okay, stand erect and facing forward. and the big toe is facing together. Okay, you can see here the big toe is facing together. With the palm here is facing forward. So that is the anatomical positions. And then we have a few number of terminology here. We have to that you have to know. You have the superior or up toward the head, and then the inferior. Inferior means down, going down, or toward the tail. Okay, that is the term that you have to know: superior and inferior. Okay, and then proximal and medial. Okay, this is the other term that you have to know. Okay, for example here, proximal means toward the trunk, along the limbs. Okay, that is the proximal. You can see here, toward the trunk, along the limb, and then distal away from the trunk, toward the end of the limb. That is the distal. And for all part of the body, medial means closer to the median plane. Okay, medial means closer to the median plane. So you can see here medial, and then the lateral means away from the median plane. So this is the lateral, away from the median plane. Okay, and then now we're going to proceed with the next one, the anterior, posterior, dorsal, and ventral. So what is the anterior? Okay, the anterior means toward the front. Okay, okay, anterior means toward the front, and posterior means toward the back, and it are used all are also used for all part. Okay, anterior means toward the front, posterior means toward the back. Okay, and because the feet are at the angle to the rest of the body, you can see here, because the feet is at the right angle to the rest of the body. So the top of the foot is now is actually considered the dorsal aspect. The top of the foot is considered as a dorsal aspect, and the plantar one here is the part that you stand on actually is the plantar surface. Okay, dorsal surface, plantar surface. Okay, the dorsal aspect of the hand. Okay, for the hand. Okay, this now is for the feet. Okay, how about the hand? The dorsal aspect of the hand faces posteriorly. Okay, whenever you put the body in the anatomical positions, the dorsal aspect of the hand is facing posteriorly. If you see here from this picture, so the dorsal part is facing posteriorly, and the palmar surface. Okay, this is the palmar surface. You can see it's facing anteriorly. Okay. Okay, now we're going to proceed with the next one. Superficials and deep. Okay, superficials mean toward the surface or body or skin. And deep means away from the surface. This term also used for all part of the body. It just means that it just to differentiate between the superficials and also the deep component. Superficial, okay, toward the surface. Deep means away from the surface. It's very simple here. Okay, just to show you the all the plans and also the terminology that we use, just to we call that simplify everything or summarize everything into one picture. Okay. Okay, now we're going to proceed with the body cavity. Okay. So in the body itself, we have the body cavity, like the space. Okay, we have the thoracic cavity. The thoracic cavity divided from the abdominal cavity by the diaphragm. Okay, if you see here, this is the thoracic cavity. Okay, divided from the here we have the down here we have the abdominal cavity. So there is a partition that become a boundary that divide between the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity, and this partition is known as diaphragm. Okay, and then we have the pleural cavity. Pleural cavity it lodge the lung. Okay, pleural cavity, and the pericardial cavity it contain the heart. And then the abdominal cavity contain the small stomach, intestine, liver, spleen, and also the kidney. And the last one is the pelvic cavity, contain the bladder and also the reproductive organ. Okay, for the organ system of the body, we have a different system, organ system of the body. We have the integumentary system, we have the muscular system, skeletal system, we have the cardiovascular system, we have the respiratory system, we have the digestive system, we have the urinary system, we have the reproductive system, we have the endocrine system, we have the nervous system, we have the lymphatic system, and then we have a few number of things you have to remember. Okay, and now we're going to proceed to discuss on the joint movement. Okay, and how we describe the movement. Okay. Flexions and extension usually occur in sagittal plane. So you can see here how the flexion movement is happen. Okay, okay, this flexion. Okay, you can see here flexion. Flexion usually indicate the decrease in the angle. So you can see here, there is a decrease in the angle between the body segment. Okay, there is the flexion. And the extension indicate there is increase in the angle. So you can see here, this is the movement of the extension. Same thing here, this is the extension, this is the flexion. Okay, the angle here, the angle is at the elbow, and the angle is at the knee. Okay. Okay, this is the extension and flexion that happen at the wrist. Okay, you can see here, this is the extension, this is the flexion. This is the flexion for the fingers, this is the extension for the fingers. How about the abduction and adductions? Okay, for the abduction and adduction, usually it occur in the coronal plane. So you can see here how the movement happen. Okay, just now this flexion and extension, it happened in the sagittal plane, right? Sagittal plane, but here it's happen in the coronal plane. Okay, so abduction. So you can see here, this is the abduction. Okay, abduction indicate motion away from the midline. Okay, adduction indicate movement toward the midline. The green color here is adduction. The blue color one here is abduction. And then the rotation is usually rotation of the limb segment about its own long axis. So you can see here, so we have the lateral rotation, we have the medial rotation. Medial rotation is where the anterior surface of the segment moves toward the midline. Okay, anterior surface of the segment move toward the midline. That is the medial rotation. Lateral rotation, which movement in opposite direction of the, it is opposite direction to the medial rotation. That is the lateral rotation. Okay, we move uh, opposite to the medial rotation. That is the lateral rotation. And circumduction move in the circle like this. Okay, that is the circumduction. And then the pronation and supination. Okay, this is the supination. This is the pronation. Okay, forearm palm facing anteriorly is supination, and when it facing posteriorly, it become uh, pronation. Okay. Okay. Whenever the palm facing anteriorly is supination, and when it, uh, facing posteriorly, it known as a pronation. So you can see here, this is supination, this is a uh, pronation. Okay, and then we have the inversion and eversion. Okay, you can see here, this is the movement of the feet, inversion. Okay, the foot sole faces medially, that is the inversion, and whenever it faces laterally, it eversion. Okay, and protraction and retraction, protraction forward and backward. Okay, you can see this is the protraction, this is the retraction, and elevation and depression. Okay. Example, the jaw, tongue, upward and downward movement. There is elevation and depression. Okay. Now we're going to discuss on the next part of the slide. Try to discuss on the level of the organization from the atom, molecule, micromolecule, organelle, cell, and tissue, and then organ and organ system and organism, the whole structure here. Okay, you see here. Okay, the structural level of the body. Okay, different structural level of organization start from the atom. Definitely, all the structure in this universe, including the human being, is start from the atom. It's the basic unit of all matter lah. Example, we have the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, and then proceed with the molecule. Okay, usually molecule is combination between two or more atoms lah. For example, we have the oxygens. Okay, and then compound. Molecule containing an atom of more than one element. Okay, for example, it becomes water, carbon dioxide. Okay, and then the other one is a carbon dioxide, protein, carbohydrate, lipid, and molecule. And then the cells. Okay, is okay. Here we are interested on this one. Okay, start from here and until it becomes an organism. And the cells is the smallest independent unit of life. And then we have a tissue, organ, and then become system, and then later become a system, and finally it will form organisms. Okay, the cell is a smallest independent unit of life. That is the most important fact that you have to know. Okay, so the basic function of the cell is for growth, for the metabolism, irritability, and also the reproductions. Reproduction here, example, the sperm and also the ovum. And the cells can vary in size. For example, sperm, the size is about 5 micrometer in size, and the nerve cell is a 1 meter long. And the tissue, that one is cell. Okay, the cell is the smallest independent unit of the life. Okay, and for the tissue, it is made up of many similar. This is the most important term that you have to know. Similar cells that perform a specific function. And the tissue is divided into four major major types. Sorry, it's divided into four major types. We have the epithelial tissue, we have the connective tissue, muscle tissue, and also the nervous tissue. And for the organs, it is integrated collection of two or more kind of tissue that work together to perform a specific function. That is the organ. So I mean that a collection of two or more kind of tissue. Okay? One or more than two or more tissue that work together to perform a specific function. That is the organ. Okay, so example here we have the stomach, right? This is the stomach. So we have the different tissue here. We have the epithelial that line the mucosa. We have the smooth muscles that form the wall and the churn food to mix with the digestive chemicals. And then we have the nervous tissue. Okay, so you can see here the nervous tissue that transmit impulse that initiate and coordinate the muscle the contraction. And then we have the connective tissue that help hold the other tissue together. So it's a combination of different tissue, two or more kind of tissue that work together to form a specific function. Specific function here is a stomach lah. Okay, that is the organ. And then the system and group of the organ that work together to perform a major functions. Okay, so mean that all the organ will work together to perform a major function and will form the system. So example here we have the respiratory system. Contain a several organ that provide a mechanism for exchange of the oxygen and carbon dioxide between the air outside the body and also the blood inside. All body systems are specialized and their function are coordinated to produce a dynamic and efficient organism. So all the system will work, will function together and coordinated and well coordinated to produce a dynamic, efficient organism. One organism here is constituted of different body system lah. Okay. Okay, now we're going to move to the next part of my presentation. Here we have the skeletal system. What are the components of the skeletal system? We have the bone, we have the cartilage, we have the joint. The function definitely to support the body, protect organ, provide lever mechanism for movement, and also produce blood cell. And for the muscular system, we have the three types of muscle. We have the skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and also the cardiac muscle. The function here for body movement, heat production, movement of the gut, pumping action for the heart. And the nervous system, okay, brain and the spinal cord, okay. The nervous system is constituted of the brain and the spinal cord, the central nervous system, okay. The component here, we have the brain, spinal cord, peripheral nerve, sensory organ, okay. Okay, this is the nervous system lah. But for the central nervous system, we have divided into two parts: the central nervous system and also the peripheral nervous system. For the central nervous system, we have the brain and spinal cord. For the peripherals, we have the peripheral nerve. Okay, so these are the component of the nervous system. So just now I mentioned we have the brain, spinal cord, peripheral nerve, and also the sensory organ. So what is the function of the nervous system? It regulates the most body activities. It receives and interprets information from the sensory organ, and also it initiates the action of the muscles. It's like a what you call the electrical system of our body. Okay, and then we have the endocrine system. The function is to secrete hormone. So you can see here, this is the pituitary gland. We have the thyroid gland. We have the adrenal gland. Okay, it secretes the hormone. There are specific hormone that is being secreted by each of the endocrine organ here, and the function of the hormone is to regulate chemical action within the cell. Together with the nervous system, it regulates and controls the body functions. Okay, that is the endocrine system. And then cardiovascular system. So you can see here the component here is the heart and also the blood vessels. So the heart definitely it pumps the blood through the vessels here. Okay, the blood carries nutrients to the tissue and transport waste for the excretion. So that is the cardiovascular system. And for the lymphatic system, the component here, the lymph node, lymphatic vessel, you can see the lymph node here, the green color structure. Okay, lymphatic vessel, thymus, tonsil, and spleen. Okay, the function is to remove excess fluid from the tissue space to the blood, and it's part of the immune system. And for the respiratory system, Okay, the function is to provide mechanism for the breathing. So that is the function of the respiratory system. It exchanges the gases between the air and also the blood, and it also regulates the blood circulation. And the digestive system, okay, the function is to break down large molecule into a small molecule that can be absorbed into the blood. Okay, this is the digestive system. You can see here we have the stomach, we have the colon, and so on, and small intestine. And the other function is to remove the solid waste. Okay? The solid product from our body will be removed by the digestive system. And then for the urinary system, the function is to eliminate the metabolic waste. Okay, and it also filter, reabsorb, and excrete. Okay, it also help regulate the blood pressure, acid-base balance, and water-salt balance. That is the function of the urinary system. And then for the reproductive system, the function is to for the reproduction and hereditary. Okay. Okay, thank you. I hope you enjoy this lecture.